What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality Podcast. I'm your host. I am Caitlin Kenneth Smith. And on today's episode of the podcast, it's a solo episode, and it's a solo mindset episode. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of action steps, and by a couple, I mean five. 5 action steps to helping you become the person that you want to be. And the reason why I'm picking this topic and why I want to talk about this today is I had a realization yesterday. I was training and I was doing back squats and I was doing 5x5 at a weight that I never thought that I would be able to do a 5x5 at. Like just a few months prior, I remember squatting and thinking, damn, I really hate how stagnant I feel and how hard I'm working, but how I'm not getting the result that I want, which was getting stronger. For a little bit of a backstory, I'm training right now to become a competitive CrossFit athlete. It's not something that I want to do for funsies. It's not something that I'm just doing as a pastime, as a passion. It's something that I want to really pursue. And over the last year, I've become more and more serious about this goal. Whereas like 2 years ago, it was a thought, but this year, not 2024, but 2023, I really just went all in on pursuing this goal. And I did my first competition with my husband. It was a partner competition in December, in the first week of December. We got second place. However, I wasn't happy with how I performed. In certain situations I was, however, the strength limitation that I had was showcased in one of the events, and I really didn't like how that felt. The last event was a 5-minute AMRAP, so as many reps or as many rounds as possible, in this case it was reps, of sandbag squats and ski cal. So it was a double scored event. So the amount of squats that you and your partner accumulated with the sandbag was one score, and the amount of calories that you accumulated on the ski was another score. Stone and I went into that workout with a pretty decent strategy. He's really good at the ski, and because he's about 100 pounds heavier than me, he's able to pull a lot harder and accumulate a lot more calories with less effort compared to myself. I'm pretty good with the ski. However, again, because he's just a bigger person, he has more force that he produces. And I was like, okay, cool. A 50-pound sandbag squats, I can knock those out pretty damn fast. And during this AMRAP, I realized I was going as fast and as hard as I possibly could on the squats. But all of the other girls completely blew me out of the water because that 50 pounds to them was a lot less compared to myself because I had that strength limitation. And for this entire year of 2023, I would tell people when they would ask me what my goal was, I would tell them that I want to be a competitive athlete and that my biggest weakness is strength and that I need to work on becoming stronger and that I was working on becoming stronger. However, if you were to look at the actions that I was putting into my training, you would disagree. Yes, I was doing compound lifts like back squats, deadlifts, front squats, overhead pressing. I was doing Olympic lifting like squats or squat snatches and clean and jerks and power cleans. However, I was doing a lot of metabolic conditioning, a lot of CrossFit, and I was doing a lot of just straight up machine conditioning work. And after my competition, I voiced to my coach how I felt specifically after that event and what I wanted to do this year and next year in order to become the athlete that I know I can be. And he straight up told me, which is why I love Eric, because Eric's going to take me to really big places because he's always really honest, because he knows what's best for me and he wants me to win. He said, you need to stop doing conditioning. We need to stop doing as much conditioning. And I've always been terrified of that. And the reason I've always been terrified of that, because in my head, I know that building muscle, getting stronger, is the best way to actually achieve fat loss, get the body that you want, and burn more calories, and become the athlete that I want. However, in the back of my head, my eating disorder started screaming at me, and always screams at me, that if you do less conditioning, you're going to gain unnecessary amounts of body fat, you're going to get fat, you're going to become unhealthy, and you're going to lose your capacity for your lungs to be an athlete, to be able to endure the things that you can. Because one of the biggest things that I take pride in is my ability to endure longer than most athletes, or my lungs. And the reality is, and my other coach, Jordan, she's my nutrition coach, she said, well, Caitlin, it doesn't matter how long you can endure or how big your capacity is aerobically if you get to a weight during an event and you can't pick it up. And it's true. And that was a reality that I didn't want to face, but I knew that in order for me to move forward, I had to face it. So after the competition, we went into a full strength cycle. And that was, I believe, the date on that would be December 10th, 11th, 12th, something around that realm. And I've done 3 conditioning workouts each week, compared to the amount of lifting that I'm doing every single day, and the volume of strength training that I'm doing has dramatically increased. Like, the focus is completely different. And initially when I started this, I was terrified. And I questioned the entire process. I kept thinking in my head, well, I should probably reduce my calories because I'm not putting out as much effort when it comes to conditioning, right? My heart rate's not getting up to like a zone 4, zone 5 on a daily basis. So maybe I should reduce things. And then I realized one day that if I never try this, then I'll always wonder what if. And I don't want to get to a point where I get to my deathbed and regret not doing something because I was afraid to do it. Because if I weren't to go all in on this, then I would have always questioned, could that have made the difference between the athlete that I was and the athlete that I became? So I went all in on it. And after every single training session, I am literally screaming because of how brutal you can make a training session with effort. This is literally my passion, my life. CrossFit, podcasting, coaching. So whenever I do something, I'm going to go all in on it. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing a 5x5 back squat or if I'm doing a 40-minute EMOM. I'm going to give that hell, and I'm going to give everything that I have. So that was about 5 or 6 weeks ago. How has it only been that long? Nope, 6 or 7 weeks ago at this point. And again, going back to yesterday, I squatted a weight for a 5x5 that I never thought I could. Just 6 weeks later. Not even, like 5 weeks. And it made me realize something yesterday. I was banging my head against the wall, telling myself that I wanted to become stronger and that I needed to become stronger in order to become a better athlete. However, the actions or the input wasn't aligning with the result that I wanted or the output that I desired. So in that case, it wasn't about working harder. It was about working smarter or doing the hard work in the right area. And I think that a lot of us, what we do is we say we want one thing, however, our actions show differently. I was saying that I wanted to become a competitive athlete and become stronger because I know that's my weakness. However, my actions were showing that I just wanted to do CrossFit because I enjoyed it. So now I'm becoming stronger. I'm performing better even during the conditioning that I'm doing, because I am stronger overall. I have better core strength. I'm actually looking leaner. I'm in a body where I never thought possible because I went all in on myself, and wouldn't you know, it worked. So initially, Eric, and I was thinking about this yesterday too, he told me we'd probably be in the strength cycle for like 3 to 4 weeks. And I think that was just his way of saying, it's okay, it's temporary. When in all reality, we're in week 6 and we're still here because it takes time to build strength. And I'm all for it. And the reason why I start off with telling you this story is because over the last 6 weeks, I've really thought about, well, what has changed within me to allow me to, how I said, work harder at the right things. And that led me to figuring out, okay, well, what are some actionable steps that I can give you guys to help you become the person that you want to become, or at least be on the right path, right? Because I'm nowhere near where I want to be as far as strength or as far as an athlete goes. However, I'm on the right path now. Whereas 2 months ago, I was on the wrong path, but I was banging my head against the wall because I was so frustrated and I felt like I was failing. When again, in all reality, I was doing the hard work. I was just not doing the right work. So, like I said, I want to break down for you guys today what are some action steps that you can take in order to become the person that you want to be. So get out your pens and your papers because I'm done talking about myself. But again, I wanted to just paint a picture for you guys. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is kind of setting the stage. Because if you don't know who you want to be or where you want to go or what you want out of life, then how the hell are you going to get to the destination? So if you don't know the destination, it's really difficult to form the directions and map out how to get there. It's kind of like if you were to go on a road trip and you were going from New York to California. If you did it without a map or without any sort of direction or GPS, it would take you much longer to get to the destination if you even got to the destination. You'd probably just get lost and give up halfway through because you were so frustrated, because you made it more difficult than it needed to be. So, who are you now? Where is your starting point? Versus who do you want to be? Where is that final destination? And I hate using the word final destination because I feel like if you want to become the best version of yourself, you're always going to be growing and you're never actually going to stop moving forward. It's just, where is your next destination? Where's the next pit stop, right? Then at that pit stop, you can reevaluate, okay, I'm here now. Where do I want to go next? Now, here's the thing. Because a lot of people will take this and be like, okay, cool. So what I need to do is I need to plan out and figure out exactly who I want to be, where I want to go, and what I want out of my life. Cool. So I'll get to writing that down. I'll get to researching it. Don't do that. All right. This is not an excuse for you to procrastinate or to have paralysis by analysis. What I want you to understand about paralysis by analysis is that so many people, myself included, do this where we need to make a decision. And instead of actually making a decision and taking action, we would rather sit there and make a perfect plan or a seemingly perfect plan and research and ask questions, which is great. You should research, you should ask questions, but there's nothing more valuable than taking action and gaining experience. Because gaining experience will give you much more information than sitting down, doing nothing, and just researching and thinking about it to formulate that quote-unquote perfect plan, or trying to decide whether to do something or not. Make a decision, take action, determine where you want to go, so you can then reverse engineer to determine what it's going to take to get there. Now, the most important thing about this, in order to determine who you want to be, where you want to go, and what you want out of your life, you have to take fear and doubt off of the table. Because a lot of people are going to do this wrong. They're going to set a goal or set a destination with doubt in their mind. It's kind of like the saying, like, if you aim for the moon, you'll land amongst the stars. However, so many people are afraid to actually aim for the moon because they don't believe in themselves enough, because they have fear, because they have doubt. Now, you can do literally anything that you want in your life. You can. with enough effort, consistency, and commitment, you can accomplish anything that you want. So when you set these goals, or when you set this parameter, I want you to do that without fear and doubt. Dream big. Remember, I've spoken about this on a podcast before. I actually have a whole podcast dedicated to this. We set impossible goals. Because when you set those impossible goals, you get those things. Or you get really fucking close to those things. So, if you want to make $10 million this year, you should probably plan and take action to make $100 million. Because even if you don't get to the 100, you're at least going to get to 10, but probably more. So why would you hold yourself back just because of a fear or a doubt that you have within? Don't let anyone or anything else influence these decisions. This is you. All right, what do you want out of life? Who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Remember, no fear, no doubt. Take action and gain experience, because that's going to give you much more information than thinking about it. Number 2, all right, now you know where you want to be, who you want to become, and I really want to focus on the who you want to become part of this. Now what we need to do is we need to forward think and backwards plan. So you're in a spot right now, we'll call it your starting spot, and you're thinking ahead to that final destination, where you want to be, who you want to be. So you know what that end goal is. Okay, we need to backwards plan so that we can fill the gap between where you are now versus where you want to be. And here's how you do that. You have to take time, you have to figure out, well, what are the habits and the behaviors and the daily routine of the version of yourself that you want to be? Are you a great parent? Are you an athlete? Are you more confident? Are you great at sales? Are you in a new role at work? Are you running your own business? Are you doing your own passion project like a blog or a podcast? Figure out exactly who that version of you is. Now, what characteristics do they have? If it's confident, if you want to be a confident person, and you know that you're not right now, well, what are the characteristics of a confident person? And what are the characteristics of a not confident person? And you can break this down. A confident person is generally going to have positive body language. So they're going to have, a good posture. They're going to have eye contact with you when you're talking. They're going to have more like of a relaxed attitude or demeanor, right? You just like to be around that person. They're going to have clear communication. So any of the ideas that they share or the thoughts that they share, they're going to have really strong conviction when they communicate. And another thing is they're going to have resiliency in setbacks. So instead of what most people do, where they just see obstacles as obstacles, they're going to view those challenges as opportunities for growth. Now, the not confident person is going to have a negative body language. So they're going to slouch. They're going to be nervous. They're not going to have eye contact. They're going to have a little bit of like uncertain communication where they're fumbling through their words, or they may even avoid to express their opinions because of their lack of confidence. And then they're going to have difficulty handling setbacks. So they're going to dwell on the obstacles and struggle to see how those obstacles can actually be opportunities for growth. So now you know what the confident person looks like, what characteristics they have, and you know what the not confident person and what characteristics they have. So what you have to do is replicate who you want to be. So if you want to be that confident person, then you have to have the positive body language, clear communication, resiliency in setbacks. And again, if you know who you want to be, but you don't know how that person lives and what habits and behaviors they have, then how can you develop actionable strategies to become that person? So if you want to be 20 pounds lighter, say that's the goal, the habits and behaviors that you have on a daily basis are going to have to align with the habits and behaviors of somebody who's 20 pounds lighter, which probably is going to align with something along the lines of eating enough protein, working out on a consistent basis, focusing on sleep and stress management, hydrating. not smoking and going to McDonald's every day and not working out at all and sitting on the couch watching Netflix. Those probably aren't the habits and behaviors that version of yourself would have. And that takes us into step 3. Now, step 3 is probably the hardest part for most people. Because it's like you're excited now. Okay, I know who I want to be. I know where I want to go. I have the characteristics of who that person is. I know what habits and behaviors and what daily routine they have. So now you start to see that you can be that person. But now you have to do an honest evaluation. And that's step 3, an honest evaluation. Are you doing the things that you need to do to be the person that you say you want to become? Honest evaluation. You have to take personal responsibility here. Because remember, if you blame other people or other things for why you're not who you want to become, then you're never going to feel empowered to take change and take action. And the only way for you to move forward is to feel empowered to take control and take action. No matter what's going on in your life, you have full control. I know that there are times when you're stressed, when you're anxious, and you feel like you don't have control. But those are the moments where you have to take a deep breath and remind yourself that, hey, this is my life. This is my journey. I have full control to take this action or to not take this action. You control your choices and decisions. Nobody else does. So once you do an honest evaluation, then we need to fill the gap. Because there's going to be a gap, because if you were the person that you wanted to become, then you wouldn't even be having this conversation. You wouldn't even be thinking about who you want to be, because you're already there. But now you have an honest evaluation. You understand that, okay, I'm pretty far off from the habits and behaviors, and that's why I'm not on the right path. So that brings us to the final step, which I said there were 5 steps. There are actually only 4 steps. I just can't count. So the 4th step is to learn and change. I say this all the time. In fact, I just posted it on a thread. Nothing changes if nothing changes. And one of the best things that you can do to change is to change your environment. Because when you change your environment, you change your behaviors. So you have to set up your environment to put you in the best position to become the person that you want to become. An environment that is helpful for somebody who wants to lose body fat is not one that is filled with Oreo cookies and a lot of beer. So if you have a lot of beer and Oreo cookies in your house and you don't have a lot of, lean proteins and vegetables, probably should change that. Set up your environment, go get some good groceries, and fill your fridge up with foods that actually align with your goals and put you in the best position to become the person that you want to become. And this doesn't just go to the environment, the physical environment, but also the support system that you have around you. If you are filling your life with people who don't support the version of yourself that you want to be, then you need to cut people out of your life. And this is the hardest thing for most people to do, because we think that we have an obligation to keep these relationships with people who are in our family, who have been friends with us for a while, just because, well, they're our family or they've been friends with us for a while. However, if those people are tearing you down and dragging you down to their level, and every time you start to move a little bit closer to a better life, they drag you backwards, then they aren't your people. I've had to do this a lot of times in my life. In fact, there's only a few people from my family that I still communicate with because of that reason. Does it suck? Kind of. But the reality is, I'd rather have a relationship with the people who want to see me win and then help those people win than just listen to some negative bullshit about how that person is just put on this earth to really just complain. The quality of your relationships is what matters, not the quantity of your relationships. And honestly, I didn't even think to go down this path here. I was just focusing on the physical environment. But as I'm really thinking about the topic, the support system that you have around you is really one of the biggest tools that you can use to your advantage. That's like, I'm a coach, right? I've been a coach for 12 years. And every single time that I have a client who is in a house where their spouse or their significant other or their parents don't support their decision to change, they struggle a lot more than somebody who, for example, has a spouse who's extremely supportive of their goals. I can use myself as an example here. I used to be in a lot of situations where the person I was with wasn't supportive of my goals. They would ask me, why are you working so much? Why can't you spend more time with me? Blah, blah, blah. Why do you train so hard? Why do you eat like that? And then when I started dating Stone, who's now my husband, it still makes me excited to say the word husband, even though it's been over a year. I fucking love that guy. Anyway, whenever I would be training or I would be eating all of my good foods, and sticking to my nutrition and working hard at the things that I'm passionate about, he would be like so supportive of it, to the point where there was a time where I was working in the gym right before I made the decision to go off on my own. And he said, I was so miserable coming home from work one day. And he said to me, quit tomorrow. We'll figure it out. He believed in me when nobody else did. He believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. And every time I train, he understands and he knows. Like, you're just becoming the best version of yourself. And that's why our relationship is so strong, because we support each other becoming better and we push each other to become better. We don't sugarcoat shit for each other. We know what each other needs. And that's the relationships that you should have in your life. People who are going to build you up, but also support you, but also are going to call you out on your bullshit in order to make you better. So, like I said, your environment dictates your behavior. So if your environment needs to be changed in order to change your behaviors, then you need to do that. If you have an environment that aligns with the behaviors that you need to have in order to become the person you want to become, then you're going to be way more successful. Now, this step was also learn and change. Okay, so the change, okay, cool. Now, how do we learn? We learn through 3 different ways: experience, awareness, and education. And there might be other ways, but these are my opinions. If you touch a stove when it's hot, you're going to burn yourself. Don't do that. But then the next time you go to touch the stove, you'll check to see if it's on to make sure you won't burn yourself. You learned that the stove is hot when it's on through experience. You see someone else touch a hot stove and they burn themselves. So now in the back of your head, you're like, okay, next time I go to touch the stove, I'm going to make sure it's not on because I don't want to burn myself like that person did. You learn from watching them and you have awareness of that situation. So you learn through awareness. Then, of course, you learn through education. You research stoves and you learn to check if it's on before touching it so you don't burn yourself. Good job. You learned how to not burn yourself on a stove. Now, you have to learn, because if you don't learn, you never grow. You keep touching the stove when it's hot and you'll never move forward because you're going to keep burning your hand. And now you need to take that analogy and use it in your daily habits. Here's an example. You keep going to McDonald's for lunch and you start gaining weight, feeling like crap. The person you want to be is healthy, lean, athletic. So what are the characteristics of that person, and replicate them in your day-to-day. And over time, you learn to become the version of yourself you want to be. You have to learn that, oh shit, the McDonald's isn't helping me become more healthy, lean, and athletic, so I need to change that. So you learn, cool, instead I'm going to bring my chicken, rice, and broccoli meal prep, or bring a sandwich to work instead, things that are going to fit into my macros for the day and that are going to allow me to feel my best and feel energized so I can go train after work instead of laying on the couch because I'm so tired from the crap that I ate. Again, what are the characteristics of the person that you want to be? Replicate them in your day-to-day, and over time you learn to become the version of yourself that you want to be. And that all kind of summarizes into this, guys. Your present self is as fleeting as the present moment. And I heard that once on a podcast, and I was like blown away by it because I never thought of it like that. But it's 100% true. The person we are today isn't necessarily the person we're going to be tomorrow. You dictate who you become based on the actions that you take today, and today builds tomorrow. So now actually there are 5 steps because there's a bonus step. All right, the bonus step is to do this consistently. You don't win in life. You don't win in health. You don't win in business. You outlast. You outlast in health. You outlast in business. Anyone can win one time, but it's those who continue to stay in that state that actually become successful and become the person that they want to be. We see progress over time, not after one time. So remember, I want to recap this for you guys. Know who you want to be. That's number one. Number two is forward thinking and backwards planning. And that goes into what are the habits, behaviors, and daily routine of the version of yourself that you want to be? And what characteristics do they have? And what characteristics don't they have? The third is an honest evaluation with literally capitalized, bold, underlined, italic, honest. And number four is learn and change, or change and learn, right? And then, of course, that bonus number 5 is to do it consistently. Look, I know it's not easy, but if you truly want the life that you keep saying that you want and dream of, you can't just dream and think and hope for it and wish for it, because it's not going to happen. Action cures everything. So guys, if you found value from this episode of the podcast, please, please, please share it. Share it on your social medias. Share it with your friends, with your family, with anybody who can find value from this. My goal for this podcast is to grow this mission, is to impact more and more people, because it's something that I'm so unbelievably passionate about that I really can't even explain it. But I get fired up just at the thought of recording something for you guys. And then every single time somebody messages me and says, hey, I listened to your podcast, it helped me in this way. Or I see somebody repost it on their story. It lights my soul on fire. So please share it. It would mean the world to me. And hey, you would help somebody with the message that I have. So remember, go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.